Thank you all for coming this evening. We know you all have very busy schedules, so you being here tonight just shows your dedication to the education here in Pennridge. I'd like to thank our students who shared a lot of their talents with us this evening. We had the Bucks County IU WOW program donate treats, along with our bakery from the Upper Bucks Technical School, and our family and consumer science classes right here from the high school. So thank you to all of them for the wonderful treats tonight. Our life skills class also created all of the floral arrangements that you saw. And our award-winning tech ed program, they created the guitars and the ukuleles that were on display. So thank you to all of them as well. And our jazz ensemble from the high school that played for you, along with our string quartet that just played from the high school. And last but not least, I would like to introduce our high school concert choir.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, that the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Raise a song of pride and friendship to our Pennridge High. Rally round her, pledge allegiance, raise a standard high. May she e'er be standing ready to supply our needs, and her name be never tarnished by our words or deeds. Don't stop believing.
Can you name that song?
Hold on to that feeling.
That's easy. Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Not so fast. Did you know that a lot of songs have those same 4 chords?
What are you talking about?
1, 5, 6 minor, 4. My life is brilliant. My life is pure. I saw an angel, of that I'm sure. People killing, people dying, children hurt and hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? Won't you turn the other cheek? Forever young, I want to be forever young. I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm your lipstick stains on the front of my left side brace. I knew I wouldn't get you. Can you feel the love tonight? Oh,
country road.
Old country roads take me home to the place where I belong. I'm your biggest fan, I'll follow you until you love me. Papa, paparazzi.
I can't live.
No, I can't live with or without you. And she will be loved, and she will be loved. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me.
I come from a land down under,
Down under,
down under.
red, white, and blue. The funny things you do, America. If I were a boy, I think I could understand. I see you all over me in my head. You fulfill my fantasy. Tell me, why'd you have to go and make things so complicated? I see the way you're acting like you're somebody. Apologize. Too late, too late. Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. But that's alright because I like the way it hurts. It's my life, it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. Can't read my
Oh no, they can't read my book.
poker face.
Come on, Barbie, let's go
Should
party.
an old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane. I'm a bird plane, bird plane. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Don't stop one believing. 5, 6 minor to 4 chords.
Thank you all. That was very beautiful. We are so excited to introduce our new superintendent, Dr. David Bolton. Hiring a new superintendent is arguably the most important job we will ever have as school board directors, and I am incredibly proud of my colleagues on the board for the seriousness in which they took in this process and their commitment to finding the ideal match for Pennridge. On December 19, 2017, Superintendent Jacqueline Radigan announced to the board that she was planning to retire effective June 30th, 2018. The board is grateful for Dr. Radigan's service to our district. Shortly after receiving the announcement from Dr. Radigan, the Pennridge Board of School Directors sought the services of the Bucks County Intermediate Unit to guide us through this process of finding the next superintendent of Pennridge. There's a reason they conduct almost all superintendent searches here in Bucks County. They have this down to a science and provide tremendous support every step of the way. The Pennridge School District works hand in hand with the IU on a regular basis. They know us well and have a vested interest in the success of this district. Dr. Mark Hoffman, Rebecca Malamus, and Joanne Parati have been instrumental. We cannot begin to thank them enough. The board followed a comprehensive search process, which included multiple rounds of candidate screening. The board conducted a community-wide survey to gather feedback in order to help frame questions and guide decisions during the interview process. We received over 1,000 responses to the survey, highlighting once again the dedication of this community to the future of Pennridge School District. The Pennridge Board of School Directors initially advertised for the position of School District Superintendent on February 15, 2018 through March 12, 2018. The search was far-reaching with ads placed locally, statewide, and nationally. The district received 25 applications for the position. The board thoroughly reviewed all 25 applications and chose 12 to interview in the initial first-round interviews, which were held over 2 evenings on April 3rd and April 4th. The board narrowed the applicant pool down to 4 candidates who returned for more thorough and comprehensive second-round interviews on April 12th. Following the second round of interviews, the board unanimously agreed to a finalist candidate, Dr. David Bolton, who was invited back for a final third-round interview on April 25th. After the final interview process, an initial offer was made to Dr. Bolton, and negotiations began with his attorney on securing an agreement with him to serve as Pennridge School District Superintendent. The board approved Dr. Bolton's contract for this position at the May 14th school board meeting, and Dr. Bolton will start on August 1st. Dr. David Bolton currently serves as Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education in the Central Bucks School District. Dr. Bolton has 29 years in education serving as a teacher and administrator. After graduating from Lebanon Valley College, he taught math in the Pennsbury School District for 12 years. He received his master's in educational leadership from Arcadia University and served 13 years as an assistant principal and principal in the Pennsbury and Central Bucks school districts. Having received his doctorate in educational leadership from Widener University, he has spent the last 4 years as the assistant superintendent for elementary education in Central Bucks. Dr. Bolton and his wife have 4 children and live in Doylestown. Dr. Bolton exemplifies all of the characteristics set forth by the community and incorporated into our application and interview processes. His reputation precedes him. The board was impressed with not only his exceptional knowledge and experience at all levels of education, which was extremely important, but also his honesty, integrity, analytical reasoning, receptiveness, passion for education, humor, work ethic, professionalism, fiscal sense, attention to detail, and dedication to family and community involvement. He is committed to educating the whole child and meeting the individual needs of each student in the most inclusive setting appropriate. Helping all students develop a personal connection to an extracurricular activity, such as music, arts, sports, or other clubs, is a strong ambition of his. Providing the information and supports needed for students to find and succeed in their chosen career paths, whether they are college-bound, learning a trade, or embarking on another journey, is another key focus of Dr. Bolton's. I have full confidence in his ability to bring even greater success to Pennridge for years to come. Tonight, we welcome Dr. Mark Hoffman, the Executive Director of the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, to lead us through the events this evening.
Good evening. I'm Mark Hoffman. I am the Executive Director of the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, and it is our pleasure to have helped the Pennridge School District facilitate this search. Congratulations to Dr. Bolton. Thank you to Ms. Baines-Clemens and to the other 8 members of the Pennridge School Board for the opportunity to assist the school district with this very, very important decision. In fact, selecting a superintendent is in fact one of the most important decisions that a school community can make and that the school board of directors can make. At the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, we are one of 29 educational service agencies that support the schools and school districts of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And it's our pleasure at the Bucks County Intermediate Unit to serve the 13 school districts and countless non-public schools of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and beyond. The order of events for this evening are as follows. Very shortly, Dr. Bolton will have an opportunity to address the group here, as well as the folks that are watching from home, because this is also being streamed live over the internet and recorded so that folks can watch it at a later point in time. Dr. Bolton and I will then head to the stage where we'll conduct a question and answer session. The questions were created and cultivated from a survey that was available on the Pennridge website for about a week and a half. Following that question and answer session, Dr. Bolton will have one more opportunity to present himself to the community and introduce himself. And then Mrs. Baines-Clemens will wrap up the evening with closing comments. This search was particularly special for me, not only because it's a wonderful opportunity to serve school districts in Bucks County, but this one was particularly special because my wife and I are proud Pennridge parents. And so I have a daughter that attends this high school and a son that attends North Next Door. So I had a little bit of a vested interest in this search as a fellow proud parent of the Pennridge community. Without further ado, it's my honor to introduce to you your new superintendent, Dr. David Bolton, for his opening remarks. Dr. Bolton.
Megan, thank you.
give up the floor too quick.
Mark, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out on such a beautiful night. First of all, logistically, you need to help me because I'm a wanderer. They asked me, David, who's doing all the sound and light, a senior here at Pennridge, he asked me if I was a wanderer. He said yes. So he has installed tape on the floors. I am not allowed to go outside the tape. So if I'm getting close, I need you to beep like one of those backup cameras, and I'm allowed to go no further than the third row because they can't see my torso if I get any closer to you. So that's my boundary. So if I get any further than that, because I am a wanderer. So thank you so much. I am just so excited to get started. When they boiled down the interview process to what it sounded like tonight, it sounded easy. Right? There was nothing to it in terms of that piece. It was wonderful going through that. It has been wonderful learning about Pennridge in terms of as you go through that process and you start studying what that might look like if potentially you might actually be asked to be the superintendent of a school district that you apply for. And so it has been thrilling that way. They say whenever you're doing a public presentation that you need to front load all of the important information because most adults will listen from anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes. And then after that, you'll listen when I say something that applies to you. So you'll hear me say something, you'll go, oh, wait a second, he's talking about kindergarten, right? And I'm in, right? But if I'm talking about high school sports, you're like, yeah, I'll get there in a couple years from that standpoint. And so here are the things that you truly need to know about me, because we should have stopped as soon as the choir was done and said, we did it. We did a nice job, right? Because by my count, there were 7 student organizations that have already been involved, which means there have been at least 7 teachers, and my guess is far more than that have worked really hard to get the students that are in those 7 organizations prepared for whatever came next. Whether that's cookies, whether that's a music theory lesson that we had tonight, that was awesome, right? Whether it was their string performance, whether it was the guitars that are outside, whatever that looked like to prepare students for that next piece is really what we're about. At my heart, I am all about meaningful learning, which only comes through quality instruction. And that is really the guide that you ought to use to judge the entire school district for as long as you're a part of it. Because I really believe that as long as students feel safe and they feel cared for, those are the first 2 things we need to do. But when students feel safe and they feel cared for, it truly is the quality instruction that leads to the meaningful learning that matters for whatever comes next. Whether that's a math test or making cookies or moving on to college or career or the military, it really are those 2 pieces that get there. And so that's me professionally. And Mrs. Baines-Clemens did a wonderful job of kind of giving you my resume. So any of you, right, there's another Lebanon Valley grad in the crowd. Yes. Right? She came up, she goes, do you recognize me? That's always a scary question, isn't it? Right? And I was like, she goes, Lebanon Valley. I went, wow. Right? That's just so awesome. I've been humming It's a Small World ever since I've been offered the job because everybody's got a connection to Pennridge. So people are like, my mother lives or my brother lives or my Uncle Joe and things like that. Personally, what you need to know is I'm basically my parents. I bet many of you would say that. My mom and my dad both were lifelong educators. And my mother is who I've become. I try to become personally, because she is just all about treating people kindly and respectfully and being a good person. And those were the things, I'm the youngest of 6, those were the things we heard over and over and over again. Professionally, I'm my father. My father was a teacher, a principal, an assistant superintendent. He dabbled as a superintendent, spent most of his career in Upper Marion School District. I grew up in Norristown, grew up in Montgomery County. Since we've been married, I have moved to Bucks County. And so we've raised our kids in Bucks County, but I grew up in Montgomery County. I told a story at my father's graduation, at my father's retirement. My father retired as being an assistant superintendent, and as a family, I was the student who spoke. And at the time, when I graduated from high school, my mom had given me, and that was about 4 years prior to this situation, my mom had given me a paper I had written in 6th grade. And in that 6th grade paper, I had said that I wanted to be a teacher, a principal, and a superintendent. In 6th grade, I knew it, right? So here it is. I've reached the pinnacle of what I wanted to do all the way back to when I was 12 years old. And I told that story at my dad's retirement, and when I thought about why that was, my dad used to come home from work every day whistling. And so I'd be in the house, and you'd hear Dad, you'd hear the car, and then you'd hear him whistle up the driveway and up the back steps. I always assumed that meant he had the best job in the universe. And so I told that story. He got up after me at his retirement and said, well, David, I hate to burst your bubble. Many times that was simply because I was happy to be home. And only about half the time was it because I had the best job in the universe. So I'm hoping I whistle more days for the good things than for those days where you're happy to be home. I know you did. I want you to meet my family because they are a really important part of who I am. And so I want you to meet my wife, Mary Catherine. Mary Catherine, if you'd stand up. Mary Catherine is a math professor at Bucks County Community College. She has dabbled some at Upper Bucks, although she does most of her at the Upper Bucks campus, although she does most of her teaching down in the Newtown campus from that standpoint. But beyond that, not only is she just an amazing teacher, an example that way for me in terms of that piece, as we've both been educators our whole career, but she's also an unbelievable wife and an unbelievable mother to our children, and just really inspires me every day. So thank you for that. 2 of our 4 children are here. The girls were able to make it, the boys were not. And so I want you to meet my daughter Rebecca. Rebecca, if you'd stand up and say hello. That was the worst part of the evening for Rebecca. Rebecca is 20. She just finished her 3rd year at Elizabethtown College. She's in a 5-year occupational therapy program. And the good news is the IU has already asked her if she's ready to work for them. Soon as they heard what program she was in. So it's all about job security. She's at Elizabethtown College and just finished her 3rd year. Our youngest is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you'd say hello. Elizabeth is a 9th grader at Lenape Middle School, which is one of the 5 middle schools in the Central Bucks School District in terms of where our homes are. Our sons are both still at college. We have identical twin boys who are just finishing their 1st year. Daniel is finishing his 1st year at Drexel University. He's an architectural and civil engineering major, and they're on a weird schedule at Drexel, so he's still got about 3-4 weeks left, and so he was home for the weekend, but he needed to go back. And then his brother, our other son, Stephen, is finishing his 1st year at University of Delaware. He's in chemical engineering, and he has a final again tomorrow. We said the same thing last Monday. They do finals over 2 weeks, so he has a final again tomorrow morning. So Stephen, you should be studying, turn the computer off from that standpoint. And so that is really my heart in terms of who I am personally as well as professionally. I think you heard enough about my background in terms of the jobs that I did. One of the things that I think it helps in terms of transitioning for this position is I've been fortunate to have career opportunities at all 3 levels of education. And so at elementary, middle, and secondary, I've spent lots of time. For those of you who want to know how long I'm going to be here, I spent 14 and a half years at Pennsbury. I spent 14 and a half years at Central Bucks. So you do the math in terms of, you can get rid of me, I forget what year that is. I calculated it once, but that's when you can get rid of me. But I'm in the long haul in terms of that piece. So thank you for coming tonight. I think we're going to transition up to the stage. Is that accurate? Okay, great. Thanks.
So we're now in the second of the 3 phases of our evening. This is the section of the night where we're going to spend some time asking Dr. Bolton a few questions. Where do the questions come from? If you'll recall, there have been several email blasts that have come out from the school district, particularly starting when his announcement of hire was made, or the intention to hire was made, where we announced that this evening would take place. And as a part of that announcement, we listed a link that allowed community members for about a week and a half to submit questions. Those questions have then been compiled and aggregated, and I've distilled them down to a few questions here tonight. The good news is that largely the themes of the questions are similar, and so we can get through essentially the spirit of every question with the efficiency of just a few short questions tonight here on the stage. After this session, again, Dr. Bolton will conclude, and then Mrs. Baines-Clemens will wrap up the evening with some closing remarks. So with that, Dr. Bolton, are we ready to get started?
I certainly am. I have to tell you that when you dream about these types of events, I was on a white love seat, and you looked a lot more like Phil Donahue than you do this evening. But other than showing my age, I'm not sure what that says about
I can run up and down the aisles if you'd like. As long as no one starts chanting, Jerry, there we go. All right. So Dr. Bolton, let's begin with a question that allows the Pennridge community to learn a little bit more about you. Can you talk about your experiences and strengths? You just mentioned a few. Mm-hmm. And in particular, can you talk about what attracted you to the school district?
Right. Well, I think answering the question in terms of what was attractive in terms of when I saw the posting in February for the Pennridge job, I think we'll get at some of those strengths. Because when you see jobs, and I felt like I was ready from a transition standpoint from an assistant superintendent to a superintendent, you start digging in. And so we've lived in Central Bucks most of our lives.